to create, it seems like that you had to learn where you came from. You learned all this music. And then to me, it's like a spoke. And then everything has a reason. And then at a time, you notice that, well, something is not being said. So that's when the creativity comes in. So you have to find something that's universal, that can go back in time and go forward in the future, so that the music you create is live for the moment, but at the same time, it could have been created anytime. That's the hard part. We're here now in a Creole house, one of the last buildings that I designed here. It's the last of my cypress. And it's a little compound here. I raised a family here in the middle of the woods in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I wrote a lot of my songs here. It's a very comfortable place. Both sides of my family have lineage that goes all the way back to Nova Scotia, and from that to Poitou and France. And, very proud of that. I was raised in French. We never used the word Cajun growing up, not even to describe this music. The music was always French music, or unfortunately, old people's music. And I was always fascinated with it. We come from a small town. We lived in the country, so we never lived in the town of Scott. But we knew, everybody, my grandmother was around there. So there was always a party. And within all these parties, somebody would play. Not only violin or accordion, but they'd play piano or trumpet or trombone. It didn't really matter. They were all musicians. And I think that really kind of turned me on for music. And to play. And then when you hear the earlier styles, I really liked that. It was different, something about it. And I remember putting my uncle's violin, trying to put it on my shoulder as a kid the first time. And I remember looking down the soundboard. It was like a runway. I said, wow, there's all these notes on this little instrument. So I was fascinated with the violin. But didn't think that much of it. Like making a living, that wasn't the idea. When people started dying in like my senior year, like people that we had known, I said, is anybody recording this stuff or putting it down? Because it was invaluable what they knew. Not only did they know stories, but they knew people and they knew places, and of course they knew the songs, the music. And that's when it kind of came to me, maybe I should start recording this, and so we started doing that, and a friend of ours of mine from Scott, we started kind of forming a little group, and we'd go visit elderly people, and just knock on their doors, and, we want to play, or I had neighbors who played too, and so it was just that kind of thing. It was fun, and you felt part of this thing. People were so happy to have people interested in their music again, because it reminded of their youth, and how, although it was very hard and everybody was poor around here, the fact that music was that uplift that you needed. It was sort of like the grace that we needed, that yes, we did survive. Yes, we are a culture. Yes, we can be French and still be Americans and stuff like that. So it's like it was pretty good insurance. The thing about our group, BeauSoleil, we were pretty lucky. The first time we were asked to go to France was in 1976. There was a guy by the name of Phil Johnson who was a commentator for WWL, and so he decided to take us around Paris in his Volkswagen bus. So he parked in front of the Arc de Triomphe on the Champs-Élysées, and we wrote a song called Arc de Triomphe's Two-Step. It was those days. We were playing on a bateau mouche, and this gentleman comes up to us, this is very good music. He said, do you have a record? And we a record, it's the last thing we ever thought of. No, we don't have a record. He said, would you like to make a record? And he gave us his card, and he was the president of EMI, Pâté Macaroni Europe, and so it was like, I said, well, this is great, but I said, we leave it in 3 days. He said, no problem. We've been very lucky and fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And the right thing for me was to play the best you can of somebody that you learn from, a master that you learn from. we're promoting our elders, and we always had somebody in our group, that was older than us, who would lead the way. And then finally, they die off, and then it's just us. And so that's how it would happen to us. We just did this for fun. It was like, I'm saying it was a business, but it never really became a business, because I was teaching until '86 and said, well, I'll take a sabbatical. Well, I never went back, and neither did anybody else, because we were the first group to go out and actually try to do this for a living, and still maintain our base here. Now, we played in Europe a whole lot, we recorded in Europe and Canada, but for me, I said, no, I want to Cajuanize America. And so we played every state in the Union more than 3 times. The point is, it's been quite an opportunity and quite an adventure to bring this music in a different language that's not spoken except only here, because we speak a 17th century French for the most part, and to the world. And I never thought about it that way. I said, well, everybody should know about that. That's what we did. We'll keep on doing it, and playing it. What I like about it is playing it to people, you ask about crowds, who never heard it before. I love that. And how it feels to be a part of this music and part of our culture that has survived so many years. It's like, they've been trying to break us up since 1755. They deport us, and we end up in the same place. They've deported 20,000 Acadians. Maybe 2,000 made it here, maybe, different ways. So you look at the tenacity of this culture and the goodness of this culture. The oak tree is our sort of symbol, because it's like, it's a perfect analogy. It's like, that's our culture. And if we don't water it, it'll die. And the fact is, you got to know where you came from. You know about the roots so that it can blossom. If I did anything about this music, I just wanted to show how authentic it was, and how authentic one can be with not following your ego or greed or anything like that. Not interested in, because for us, we never solicited a gig. In the early days, it just came to us. We were lucky, but we were at the right place at the right time with the right goods. We were so lucky to have people like Dennis McGee in that generation where we could just go to their houses, and it's a one-on-one situation. Well, let me put it this way. When I get to their house, Gladys would always have a cup of coffee for me, because we went out I said, well, let's go to the grocery store. So I bought them the groceries, and I said, well, 2 pounds of coffee, because I'm coming back. So every time I went there, it was a hot cup of coffee. But I'd get there, and Gladys would go to the front room and get a pillow and put a pillow on the floor so Dennis's foot wouldn't shake the whole house. Just things like that. What you got to do,